Hello everyone, Richard here from Calvin Wazoo, bringing you another video. It's another one with the 1970s that Vinyl Richie had kind of started. So on 1972, was 14 at that, turned 14 that year, and I started getting more records. I was doing more buying of records at that time. And, where does a 14-year-old get money to buy records, in the 1970s? And, I had an allowance, for doing chores or whatever, mowing the lawn and stuff like that. So I would get some money. And I also joined the Columbia House Record Club. So, of course, that first time when you join, you can get like 12 records for a penny, and then you've got the obligation to buy whatever. So, I built up a collection largely through that because I didn't have a lot of opportunity to go to record stores. I lived in a small town, didn't have very many record stores, and then we moved to a rural area, and then I just had no access to stores at all because I wasn't driving yet and could only go to a store if I went with my parents or something like that. But it was a good year for music, 1972. And first one I'll show is, I'm kind of hedging on this. I think I got it in 1972, but that's Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick. I remember it about that time. I'm pretty sure I got it, right about the release time. This is, I don't know if this is an OG copy. It is an early copy though, because it's got the full newspaper inside. So very cool. Probably, I think it was might have been my first Jethro Tull record. It was a record that mocked prog rock. It was kind of funny, yet it became considered one of the quintessential prog rock albums out there. And it was a total mockery of the prog genre. Next one, I did get when it came out, was Alice Cooper's School's Out. Now, I had Killer by then, but Killer came out the year before, and I didn't buy it when it came out. So this was probably an acquisition that I made with the Columbia House, because I probably got this and Killer, at the same time. This is an early Warner Brothers pressing and the green label. I like I like Killer better, for sure. But side one of School's Out is a really, really solid side. Side two is okay. I'll listen to it once in a while, but this is kind of one of those records where I'll listen to one side a lot, and only that one side. And on occasion, I'll flip it to listen to the other side. Okay. David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. Interestingly, the first time I heard this record was also right about the first time I ever got high smoking pot. And wow. Amazing. This is a later repressing. It's not a gatefold, and it seems to me the original might have been a gatefold. I can't remember. But what a great album this was. I after listening to it at a friend's house, I got my own copy just as quickly as I could. And it's got my favorite of all David Bowie songs on this. My favorite David Bowie album was in fact released a year, I think, later. That would have been Aladdin Sane. That's my absolute favorite Bowie album. But this has my favorite Bowie song, which is Lady Stardust. Just love that song. The visuals, I can just picture what's going on in that song is just really, really amazing. This one came out in 1972, and I picked it up, Arlo Guthrie's Hobo's Lullaby. Largely because, I heard the song City of New Orleans, which was played on FM radio quite a bit, and I really liked that song. And so I got the record, and man, I really, really love this record. Just so many great songs on here. He's got a Bob Dylan cover on here, When the Ship Comes In. But something goofy like Ukulele Lady. I mean, I love that song. Hobo's Lullaby, the titular song. Then Anytime, Lightning Bar Blues, Shackles and Chains. I love the song 1913 Massacre, which is about a labor dispute-oriented massacre of families and workers that were celebrating Christmas. Copper mine workers. They were celebrating Christmas, in a ballroom kind of place that was on a second floor. And the scabs or whatever, shouted that there was a fire when in fact there was not a fire. And then they blocked the door, and everybody was trying to, leave, and they ended up crushing each other to death because the door was blocked. And so, and it was an interesting song to me because I've been to Calumet, Michigan. I know the area because copper mining, big history in that area. And I just, really, even though it's such a sad story, I just love the storytelling that was going on with that song. Okay, so the next one was, some more Frank Zappa. And it's Just Another Band from LA. The live album recorded at the, I think it was the Pauley Pavilion. So this was, the Flo and Eddie years, 14 years old, listening to, this prurient humor. It's still a really, really good concert recording. This is a German pressing that I found in the store. So I've got like 3 copies of this record, various pressings, including the original, on the Bizarre label. But this is on the Reprise label. The label being slightly different, than the U.S. pressings that came later on the Reprise label. So yeah, my friends and I, we, listened to this and snickered and loved. I mean, I could do the words, word by word of Billy the Mountain. Well, in fact, all the songs I could do right along with it. And I have also got, a video that goes in a lot more detail about this recording. Now, about the same time, at this time we were listening to 200 Motels, the Fillmore East album. So yeah, we were listening to the toilet humor, so to speak, of that era. Then another record that came out that year is this one, Waka Jawaka. This is my Japanese pressing of it. But I have an OG on the Bizarre label. And, I saw it in in a record store. So I grabbed it, took it home and listened to it. And it was like, wow, this is like completely different than what's going on with Just Another Band from LA. And yeah, it's I liked it. I really, really liked this jazz fusion thing that was going on. Mostly instrumental, other than the song, Your Mouth. And it just might be a one-shot deal. Those are the only 2 songs that are have lyrics to them. And the construction was very similar to Burnt Weenie Sandwich, because you've got the Big Swifty as the all of side one, and then Waka Jawaka being, the closing song on side two, which are these big grandiose sort of big band jazz fusion songs, just absolutely incredible. Then you got these two songs, in the middle of Your Mouth and It Just Might Be a One Shot Deal, which are really good songs as well. So it's, kind of constructed on a similar theme as Burnt Weenie Sandwich. But when I played this for my friends who were listening to the Flo and Eddie stuff that I was also listening to, they were like, I don't like this. Oh, there's no comedy, And I'm like, dude, this is a great, great record. But then I guess I still attribute that to the fact that, I was a band geek. So I was playing in the band. I knew more about music than a lot of my friends did. They just was, whatever they listened to on the radio. So, great. It's still one of my favorite Zappa releases. And I also, did a video on that. So I'll have links in the down under to those, at least to my Frank Zappa playlist. All right, next one. Grateful Dead, Europe 72. That, what a record. I mean, it's a triple album set. Great, great concert recording. It's a really, really great. It's not my favorite live album by the Dead, but it is a really, really good one. For a triple album, I mean, it seriously is one that I can easily sit there and play all three records. Do the whole show, so to speak. That was released in 1972, Europe 72. And this was probably the first Neil Young record I ever got. I got After the Gold Rush, but that was later. I didn't get it the year it was released. Same with, Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. I probably got that record also in 1972 or maybe 1973. But this one I got in 1972 when it was released. This is an OG copy with, the crepe paper cover. I think it's an OG. It's got this Reprise label. But anyway, I bought the Columbia Record House version. That's the one that, that I got at that time. But God, what a great album. I loved all the songs. And for a lot of Neil Young fans, they like the Crazy Horse stuff better, which, I love the Crazy Horse stuff as well. But this, was when he was connected with the Nashville group of musicians, the Stray Gators. I think they were from Nashville. But what I even did a presentation in one of my high school classes about one of the songs, Words Between the Lines of Age, talking about that song and what was going on with the lyrics and why I loved it so much. Another sort of Grateful Dead album came out that year is this first eponymous release, Jerry Garcia. And this is a water damaged copy. You don't really see the damage to the cover on the front, but on the back you can see, and I picked this up in a secondhand, like an antique shop in Palm Springs, and it was like I think it was like $1, something like that, because the record itself is in really good condition. It's just the cover is trash. So I even made a song list, to add here, because you cannot read anything on the record here. It did not come with original insert with that, but yeah, the actual record itself sounds, it's a VG plus copy. So, I probably will someday acquire another copy of this that has a better cover. That's what I'll be shopping for. I won't care what condition the record is in. I'm just looking for a good cover. So, and then here, the final one that came out is Deep Purple, made in Japan. So, I remember seeing on, what was it, King Biscuit Flower Hour, or one of those, TV shows that would have, concert footage, late at night at some Friday or Saturday night, on TV. And I remember seeing Richie Blackmore playing Smoke on the Water, and it just, blew me away. So I got the record. And then, of course, later in life, made in Japan, I had to get a Japanese pressing of Made in Japan, which I eventually did. But it was called Live in Japan. And you can even see that here. It says Live in Japan. Deep Purple really themselves didn't like the record. They didn't care for it at all. But it turned into a huge, huge, huge seller. It was one of their best-selling records. And the copy from, the Live in Japan Japanese pressing it's the same set list. It's the same songs. It's the same recording. They just gave it a new name, and it's a different cover photos. But yeah, was on the hunt for one of these for quite a while. Then I found one that wasn't going to cost me a ton of money because of the shipping from Japan. I bought it from a Japanese vendor. Got to factor that cost in. So very happy with that. So yeah, those are records I picked up. There were other records that I picked up at that time. I just don't have copies of them now. And that is Uriah Heep, Magician's Birthday, and Demons and Wizards. Both of those records came out in 1972, and I had them. But I don't have copies of them anymore. And Lou Reed, I did, Transformer, I did get that, but that was probably in 1973. I, didn't really get it. And same with Joe Walsh, Barnstorm, which is such a great album. I didn't get that right away either. I picked that up at the same time that I picked up The Smoker You Drink, The Player You Get, which I believe, again, was 1973, 74, or somewhere around there. But anyway, those are my records. I'll have links in the Down Under to the other playlists, the Frank Zappa playlist. Leave your comments in the Down Under, please. If you have, any thoughts or reminiscences about these records when they came out, or some others that, you might have picked up in 1972. I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.